Hey guys, Outdoor Prepper, I want to welcome you back to the channel, and I want to start with a little housekeeping. If you enjoyed this video, if you could like and subscribe, it would really help me and the algorithm out. So today what I want to do is an oil change. Now this oil change, while it's specific to this 2500 watt Chanpion inverter generator, this really applies to all inverter generators and quite honestly all generators that are of residential size, I would say. So, 1,000 watt up to maybe 12,000 watt portable generator. And the reason I say that is most of these generators have really obscure amounts of oil that they take, and sometimes the manufacturer includes oil, sometimes they don't. But what almost every single generator says in the manual is you fill the oil up to the threads of the dipstick. So with that being said, while I happen to know the amount of oil that this generator takes, for all intents and purposes, let's just pretend I don't, and we're just going to fill it up to the threads. So the first thing you want to do when you're doing an oil change is have all your tools and supplies ready. The screwdrivers are really not necessary for this oil change, but they are here for a reason, and I'll explain that. I do have 2 containers of oil, and there's a reason for that. So the black container is the one that came with the generator, and basically it's half a liter, and I made a marking on here of where half a liter is when it's flat on a table, because this is the exact amount of oil for this generator. So rather than sit there and pour a little at a time and check to see if it's up to the threads, I can just dump this whole bottle in and know that it will be up to the threads. But again, this is not necessary, but what I did before I poured this in, I marked it, and now I just refilled this black bottle with the Pennzoil, and this unit takes 10W30. Most generators do as well, but obviously refer to the owner's manual. The other thing I have here is a funnel, because obviously we need that, and Chanpion was nice enough to include the funnel and the oil with the generator. I have a little basin here so I can pour the used motor oil in, and I just have some shop rags because I really don't want to make a mess. The screwdrivers are for a different purpose, and we'll get to that in just a minute. If you watched one of my other videos, you know that I installed an hour meter, and this unit now has 5 hours of runtime. So at 5 hours, I want to do an oil change to get any gunk that was in there from manufacturing out. And also, if you watched my other video, not a big fan of this door on the Chanpion generator. I think the generator is amazing. I really like it. I would buy another one any day of the week, but I don't like the door. And the reason for that, if you can see here up close, there's all these little tabs that lock in, but they don't lock in very well. You really have to kind of finagle it and push it. These have to clip in the bottom. It's a poor design, I'm going to be honest. Chanpion, I think you make a great product. I like your generator a lot. I would buy it again. You've got to redesign this door. Happy to give you some advice if you'd like to reach out. Honda has a much easier design. So right here, this is the oil dipstick and the oil fill. This is also the oil drain. So you basically just tilt the unit, the oil drains out, into whatever container you want. The reason the screwdrivers are here, and I hope you can see this on the camera. Let me zoom in just a little bit. All right, I think that's good. So right here, this is the carburetor. And this little screw right here, what this does is it drains the bowl of the carburetor from any gasoline that is left in the bowl, or quite frankly, any liquid, any condensation maybe from running on propane. And it drains it down this little tube right down to here to, the ground or wherever. So I ran this generator until it ran out of fuel. But with that being said, there is still some residual fuel in the carburetor and or in the bowl or the line. So what I'm going to do right after the oil change, when that basin is filled with used oil, I'm going to drain the remaining gasoline, and I'll try to do that on camera so that you can see that as well. And it's not going to be a lot of gasoline. It's probably going to be a very small amount, but that is all it takes, is a very small amount to really gum up and screw up your carburetor. So with that being said, before you do an oil change, the first thing you want to do, in addition to all your supplies, is you want to run the generator for a couple of minutes, get it up to operating temperature, because that thins the oil a little bit and it allows the oil to drain much easier. So I've had this running for about 10 minutes, turned it off, it's still warm. I'm really anti making a mess, so what I'm going to try to do, and this might turn into a gigantic mess, but hopefully it won't. I'm going to bring the basin over, and I'm going to try to just pick the whole generator up and kind of tilt it into the basin. I'm probably going to block some of the camera view, so forgive me. But like I said, you know, there's different ways you could do this. I could bring the generator to the end of the table, actually, and maybe just tilt it like that. I don't know. Let's figure this out together, and let's see what happens here. So, basin is over here. What I'm going to do, because I'm anticipating a giant mess, I'm just going to take this shop towel, and I'm kind of going to shove it in here a little bit, if I can. What I want to do is position this so that way if any oil spills into the generator, it doesn't kind of get all over the bottom of the generator. I want it to kind of get absorbed by that shop towel. But again, we'll see how successful I am. And I'm also curious to see what this oil looks like when we're done here. And this is the oil fill and the drain and the dipstick. And you want it to be at the bottom of the threads. And it also shows it to you up here on a label. It shows it on labels all over the place. And trust me, I own a lot of generators. It is pretty much like this on all generators. They all tell you to fill it up to the threads. So let's see how this works out. I don't have a really good grip, but also grabbing kind of where the hot muffler is. So I can't really see, to be honest, but I can see a little bit in the shadow that oil is still coming out. This unit is not heavy, but it's also not light. I think we got a little dribble, but I think we got the vast majority of the oil out. Yeah. All right, so I did not make too much of a mess on the generator itself. I did make a little bit of a mess on the table, which I was trying to avoid. But to be honest, I was more concerned with the generator than the table. So right now I'm just cleaning up a little drain spout here. And let's take a look at the oil, and I'll bring the camera over in just a second. And you can see a little bit of a metallic sheen in here, and that's to be expected. So don't be alarmed. Let's bring the camera over and see if you can see that. There's a little metallic sheen in here. And that's because when these generators are manufactured, obviously they clean them up and they clean out all the casting. But you know what? Little bits of metal wear on the initial break-in. So this is to be expected. And this is also why you really want to change the oil, you know, after the first 5 hours. All right. And you know what? Let's get the new oil in, and then we'll drain that gasoline from the carburetor. Now, like I said, I did make a little bit of a mess here, a little more than I wanted to, but that's okay. I'm just putting this out of range of the camera, but I do want to clean the table up just a little bit before I go ahead and pour the fresh oil in. Now look guys, as you can see, this is not a complicated oil change. And in terms of intervals, you want to do it basically the first 5 hours or so. And some people say you want to do it in the first 30 minutes, then do it again 30 minutes later, or do it a couple of hours later. What I have always done with my generators is I run them for 5 hours, I alternate the load. I usually use a space heater. I put it on low, I put it on high, I put it on medium, I put it on fan only. I alternate it back and forth for about 30 minutes each setting. And then I just continue that for 5 hours. After 5 hours, I change the oil, drain the carburetor, put the cover on it, tuck it away, and that's it. That's where it stays until I need it. And I've had very good luck through the years. All right, so what I'm doing now that I've cleaned up the mess that I've made, is I'm going to try to pour what I believe to be the pre-measured amount. Obviously, if I'm mistaken, we're going to see a little bit more of a mess here. So you just got to pour this kind of slow. You want the generator to be on a level surface. I can't stress that enough. because, again, you're trying to fill it to the bottom of the threads, so you want it to be level. And I should also point out, when you check the oil, look, there's a dipstick. You could certainly use the dipstick. But if you're going to use the dipstick, don't screw the dipstick in and tighten it. You just place it in there, and that's how you check it. I truthfully don't really use the dipstick. What I do is I take a small little flashlight, and when I think I've got the right amount of oil, I just take that flashlight and I look inside to see. And if you do happen to overfill it, which truthfully maybe I have overfilled it, I don't really know. But if you do, it's not really a big deal. You can just tilt the generator and dump a little bit of it out. So I'm off camera right now because I'm walking over to get the little flashlight that I was just talking about. And I'm going to check it because, quite frankly, I don't really know if I measured this correctly. So we've got a little ways to go on this bottle, so I'll just pull this out and just have a look. Visually I can see that we're not there yet, but before I get to the end of this bottle, I am just going to do a quick inspection. And look, if you overfill it, it's not the end of the world. What's going to happen is it's just going to pour out of this hole, and you're going to have to tilt the generator a little bit and drain some of it until you get back to the bottom of the threads. So just keep in mind that kind of stuff happens, especially if you've got a generator that has some obscure amount of oil, like 0.0769 milliliters, you know, or 0.6 milliliter, whatever it is. It'd be really nice if they just made these generators to take 1 quart, but I'm not the generator designer, so you can't blame me. Now we're getting there, we're getting pretty close. Nope, I think we might have overfilled. I could also be wrong. I frequently am wrong. Let's pause for a second here, and I'm going to take the gloves off because what I don't want to do is get oil all over my flashlight, and it's going to be a mess. Alright, so I have not overflowed yet, but I think we're a little higher than I would like to be, but I think we're okay. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my flashlight here. I'm going to clean this up just a little bit with another shop towel, so I can get a better look here also. So what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of putting the shop towel around the threads, because you know when you pour oil in, it kind of gets all over the place, and I want to just get a little bit of a better look. I also made more of a mess here on the table than I would have liked to have made. So let me get the flashlight out and let's take another look. Alright, so I am not at the bottom of the threads, I'm kind of in the middle of the threads, and I think we're good here. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to pause the video for 1 second because I want to get another pair of gloves. And then we're going to put the oil cap on and we're going to drain the gasoline. So we'll be back in 1 second. Okay guys, so I've gone ahead and cleaned up a little of the mess I made on the table. I put everything else away. I tightened the oil dipstick, and this does not have to be super tight, just kind of till it's snug. I had a little oil on here, I cleaned that up, and generator is honestly spotless. This was, despite the massacre that happened on the table, the generator itself did not sustain any messiness. So what I'm going to do right now is, and I've zoomed in a lot so you can hopefully see, and we're going to see this together because I don't actually know, maybe there is no fuel in the bowl. This is the drain tube right here, and I'm just going to loosen this screw and let's see if anything comes out. And you might also be able to see some gasoline coming down the line, if there is any. Yep, look at that. There is fuel coming out of here. And that is exactly why you want to do this. You want to take a minute of your time, just loosen that screw. Because look, I put True Fuel in here, which is ethanol free, and there's stabilizer, so in theory that should be perfect and should not cause me any issues. But look, you never know. And if you're running ethanol gas, you definitely want to do this. It took 1 second, it just drained a little drop, nothing of any significance, but enough to make me feel better that this is not going to cause a problem, you know, when I go to use this in the future. And that really is, you know, what I want to be certain of. And I zoomed out here a little bit because I want you to kind of see what I'm talking about with this door. And again, Chanpion, I really, really like your product a lot. Big fan of it, and I would definitely buy another one. You know, if I needed one, I definitely recommend this product to everybody. But your door, get rid of these tabs. Get rid of these stupid tabs. Do something different. Make it a little bit easier. So the door comes in down here, and it slides in, and then you have to finagle these tabs. You have to kind of get them started at the bottom because otherwise it feels like it's going to break one of the tabs if you don't. And all the tabs are, I believe, in, but the door is still not, it's not snug. It's like popping out a little bit, and I think that is because one of the hoses in there, one of the breather hoses, looks kind of tight. It's a really tight fit inside this generator, guys, like really tight. I don't know, I said it before if you watched the video where I did the unboxing and the review, but when I went to install the hour meter, I pulled this cover off for the spark plug boot. I literally could not get my hand in here. I couldn't even get my fingers in here to pull the actual boot off the spark plug. I had to use a tool. So I was a little frustrated with that. But again, it's a minor problem. The generator runs very well, very fuel efficient. So I do recommend it. And that basically is it. We've wrapped up this oil change in what, less than 15 minutes? And if you were doing this at home and you weren't going to spend the time getting all the tools ready and setting up a tripod and a camera, you could do this in 10 minutes. Literally a 10-minute oil change job. And as I said, I put 5 hours on the unit. You can see here on the hour meter that I installed the other day. And if you have not watched the original video, which is kind of an unboxing and a review of this, I would encourage you to do so. And I hope you find this helpful. I'm going to do a follow-up video to this because I do get a lot of questions. You know, oh, this is a nice generator. It sounds really quiet, but I don't think it could run my fridge. Or I don't think it could run the TV and the internet. You know, it seems really small. Is this just good for camping? Guys, this can run a lot of stuff. Let me tell you. You're worried about the fridge? Unless you have a commercial, you know, grocery store that you're trying to power, this can definitely run your fridge. So subscribe, like, check out the next video. We're going to talk about what it can run and how long it can run for. And that is really important to know. But great generator. Really recommend it. Thanks for watching.